In this part, I want to customize font size, theme, and many other things in Visual Studio Code. If you've installed Visual Studio Code, it's definitely not like what you see here. I have changed it and customized it to make it look like this. Now, I'm going to show you how to customize it in this way. After you go inside Visual Studio Code, press Ctrl, Shift, and P. This command palette will open for you. Inside it, you can search. Type settings.json. This file that you see here contains all the settings that you have changed so far. These are the custom settings that you selected for your Visual Studio Code. If I delete all of these, see what happens? You'll probably see Visual Studio Code like this when you install it for the first time. So if I delete these here, you will see the default style of Visual Studio Code. All right, let's go and customize it to our liking. The first thing I do, I will go inside this part, Manage, and click on Settings. Please note that any setting I change will be saved inside this. Now let's see what settings we want to change. The first one is Theme. I'll write Theme. The theme I like is this, Light Plus. Now, if we go to settings.json, as you can see, it has already been added and changed. You can see that for workbench.color theme, it has set it to default Light Plus. Visual Studio Code will read this and use it to customize your VS Code. Okay, for the next one after theme, we will turn to font size. What size do I want? I'll set it to 18. See, the font size editor here is 14 and I will change it to 18. And here it is also added. Kindly note that the font has gotten bigger. If I increase it a little, you can also increase it in here. For example, if I set it to 55 and hit save, press Ctrl and S to save, you will see that it will be too big. So 18 is good enough. I'll press Ctrl and S and it will save. Now, if I should tell you why every time you make a change, you need to press Ctrl and S, you will see, I'll type 44, then this sign will appear, this black circle. This means that it hasn't been saved yet. Autosave is not set yet. We will add autosave too. Therefore, I will have to press Ctrl and S in order to see the result. This is because autosave is not applied yet. Okay, we will do these one by one and move forward. Now that we have set font size, the next one is zoom level. I want this part to be larger. I don't want it to be small. So I'll type here zoom level and it will display Windows zoom level. I will change this 0 to 1. See what happens? This part became bigger. All of it became bigger. The font size also increased a little. And that is it for zoom level. And it has been added here as well. What is the next thing I should change? I will change the indent setting for these here. Please note that I have created a folder here called assets, and inside it are the CSS and the JS folders. And inside the CSS, a file called the styles. The indent that we have now is too small. See, it says assets, CSS. CSS is inside assets, but the indent is too small, and I want it to be clear. I will type here indent. The value of indent here is 8, and I will set it to 15. As you have noticed, the distance between them increased. That is, the distance between the children and the parents has increased, like this is style.css, which increased. You can, depending on your taste, increase this value. For example, set it to 30. See, the distance will be much more. However, I will set it to 15 so that it is clear what is the parent and what is the child, and that is it for indent. Now, as you have seen, we don't have autosave. How can we have it? Look, even if I open this with live server, see? I'll open it with live server. This is written here, right? I'll move it to this side so that you can see. And like this, I'll move this one here. I'll make a change, but nothing will be applied while this is the live server. In the previous video, we showed that live server will display our code whenever we make a change. However, it wasn't displayed. Why? Because this sign, you can see here, and it is also here. This black circle means that it hasn't been saved yet. Remember, it must be saved first. The code we have written to be displayed here. It doesn't need to be refreshed. See, I'll type something else, then I'll press Ctrl and S to save it, and then this will happen, and we will be able to see the result. In order not to save each time, not to press Ctrl and S, just like the live server, which we use to avoid refreshing each time on the browser, we also use autosave here to avoid pressing Ctrl and S to save each time we write a code. What should we do? We will go to settings and type here autosave. As shown here, autosave is off. We will change it to after delay. It means that there will be a delay. Whenever we write something, it saves it after that delay. How much should it be? Now it is 1 second, 1000 milliseconds, which means 1 second. I'll set it to 500 milliseconds, which means half a second. Whenever we write something here, it will be saved half a second later. So I type something and it will be saved automatically in 500 milliseconds. I delete this and half a second later it will be saved. I'll write it again and again. Half a second later it will be saved. So it will take half a second for our autosave to save. And this is also here in our settings. Autosave is set to after delay, and for autosave delay it is 500. Now there is another thing which we need to do. I'll close this one here. Kindly note that there is a map here, this column here which shows us our code. I want to remove this. I don't like it, so I want to remove it. Although you might like it and want to keep it, I want to get rid of it. How can I do that? I'll go here in settings and I'll type minimap. Then here I'll uncheck this. What does this do? Let's see. It says editor minimap enabled should be false. Here, if you take a look, you will see that it is no longer there and we can't see it anymore. This is the environment which I have selected for myself, but there are so many different options. That is, its settings menu has a lot to offer. It will let you choose from them and do whatever you want. You can use the settings to customize your editor to your liking. This is all that I have implemented for my settings, but it doesn't mean that you should do it exactly like this.